Welcome to Shop Talk Live, Fine Woodworking's bi-weekly podcast. I'm here with Fine Woodworking's Mike Pekovich.
Hey.
And Anissa Kapsalis.
Hi.
Jeff Rose is here manning the controls, and I'm your host, Ben Strano. I didn't give you a pause to say hi. All right. If you have questions you'd like us to answer on the show, send them into shoptalk@taunton.com. Any links or articles we mention will be on this episode's show notes page, which can be found at shoptalklive.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and click that thumbs up button. Anissa just started a conversation that we halted.
Screechingly halted.
Yeah, it would make for good pod.
Oh. Well, I was wondering, this is something I was thinking about on my drive here today. If you could only use two joints, you were limited to two joints for the rest of your woodworking life, what would they be? You can't build with any other joints other than these two.
My question is, does a domino count separately from mortise, like floating mortise and tenon?
It's a what? So you go domino?
I'd go domino and dovetails.
Domino and dovetails?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with dado and rabbit, because that really defines everything. Because a tenon is just a stick with a rabbit on four edges on the end. The mortise is
a loophole.
The mortise is a stop dado. I'm gonna lump groove and dado into the same thing, though.
Yeah.
That's
because it is.
It is.
Because anytime somebody corrects somebody for saying groove or dado, it's kind of a jerk move.
Slap them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not talking about anybody specifically who may or may not comment on videos or anything.
I think I could even get a dovetail as a type of dado on the end of a board.
No.
With an angled wall.
No.
Sure.
No.
But this is it forever. You're going to have to adapt
Mike
this.
is trying to find a loophole in which a rabbit or a dado
it's a basic
can
component of
encompass
everything.
any form of joinery.
No.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Like a raised panel,
now.
that's just like an angled rabbit on the edges of a panel.
No.
Yeah.
It has to be
you're off on
straight
this
up
one.
domino, and what was your other one?
A domino and dovetails.
Domino and dovetails.
What about you? You answer the question legitimately.
I spent about an hour thinking about this on the way here. It's not the most practical, but I would go miters and bridle joint. The bridle joint is my favorite joint ever.
Bridle joint is an underused, awesome joint.
I agree.
That's just a rabbit and dado.
Okay, so let's say we limit it to mortise and tenon and actual answers out of you.
That's a dumb question then.
Well, you can't commute to work with me then. I don't know what to say to that.
I don't think it's a reasonable request.
Well,
It's
every
hypothetical.
hypothetical in the world is unreasonable.
Okay, is a mortise and tenon, is that one joint?
Yes.
Oh, dovetail, mortise, and tenon.
Oh, that was the problem.
Because a rabbit is just like a partial tenon, like a single wall tenon, so I can get my rabbits in there too. And a mortise
you're still
is
working
just a
this
groove
angle.
and a dado, so I can just work backwards from that.
But when you think of a mortise and tenon, that's not what you're thinking
He's
of.
wily.
A little bit.
I'm trying to think of what but like what about a hole? What about a stick in a hole? How
Well,
is
then you
that?
would say a dowel.
No.
'Cause you could-
Stick in a hole is a mortise and tenon. It's just round.
Oh, okay, so it's a round mortise and tenon,
Yeah.
still a mortise and tenon.
Yeah.
I'm set. Yeah, I'm good.
That's that.
And a finger joint is just a
Box
dovetail
mentality.
joint with straight walls.
A finger joint is just a
come
mess of
on.
bridle joints.
Yes.
That's true.
My next article is make this project using one joint.
But really, you're using 25 joints.
Yes, and it'll be the rabbit, but like that'll be everything.
Oh, shoot.
Have a perfectly opposing rabbit on the other side of this and have it, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So, we are no longer selling Shop Talk Live t-shirts because no one bought them. So now I've decided we're just going to give them away. They sent them back to us. We have a box of t-shirts.
Oh.
And how about we do... I'm going to pick 3 people from the comment section of the show notes page.
New shirts? Or are they from the last two Fine Woodworking Lives ago?
2017.
Yeah, they're out of my laundry. No, yeah, they're newish.
The new one, like the logo that's on the screen behind you?
No, it's the old logo. It's the one with bonk, bonk, bonk on the back.
Oh, yeah, that's kind
Because no one really got that.
Yeah.
Except for us. We thought it was funny.
Yeah, but that's the problem of the podcast.
Turns out it wasn't funny.
Yes.
No one wanted a t-shirt that said bonk, bonk, bonk on the back.
All right.
So, yeah, leave a comment on the show notes page on the website, not on YouTube. And I'll pick 3 people to win a t-shirt and hope that we have the size you need. So, all right, let's answer some questions. Cool?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 1 is from Damon. It's time for me to start surfacing rough boards, but I don't have the money to buy both a jointer and a planer. I do have a plan for milling stock without a joiner. Please let me know what you think. Buy a lunchbox planer and build a sled for face joining. Build a jig for ripping a straight edge at the table saw. And then after face joining with the sled and then planing the stock to thickness, the plan is to rip a straight edge on my table saw using the jig and then ripping to width using the fence. Do you know a better way to mill 4 square without a joiner? I don't know if there's a better way, but there's more ways.
Yeah, I think this is a good solution. A sled for the planer to get one face flat and then flip it over. And that the idea of like tacking a wonky board to a straight edge piece of something to rip one edge straight on the table saw. That's great. Do you have a bandsaw?
I don't know. I do. You were looking at me, but I
know. I'm just wondering if Damon had a bandsaw or not. The only thing I would add to that is
what would you do with a bandsaw?
I would rough down the stock to. I just don't like doing basic milling at the table saw, say taking an 8-inch wide board and ripping it exactly in half because everything's going to go wonky, and you know the pinching wood could cause the blade to kick back or something like that. So I would just say if you have a bandsaw, I just might bust things down to size before I went through all of that. Mm-hmm. That's all.
I have never used a table saw to joint an edge, if you will. I have used a router table.
Oh.
You too? Mm-hmm. That acts more like a traditional jointer to me. I mean, it basically is. If you've got...
Yeah, but it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Especially with this little...
It's a lot less finicky than setting up the sled, So if you've got a router table, I think I would... if you shim out the outfeed side of the table or of the fence...
Do you even need a router table? Could you just do a straight edge and a bearing-guided bit?
Which brings up my other idea is just use a track saw.
Well, here's the thing. Well, yeah, track saw is cool. I was going to say, if you had like a really waney live edge board, you're not going to joint that edge at a router table. You've got to cut a straight line on there.
You wouldn't join it at a joiner either.
No, but you could cut a straight edge at the table saw by tacking on a straight edge to the opposite face.
That's true. With an L fence?
Just tack it on there.
Yeah, okay.
And and that straight board you tacked on, you tack it to the right side, and that rides against the rip fence.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's a mess
track
of ways
saw.
of doing it.
Basically it's the same thing.
Yeah. There really is a mess of ways of doing this. So why does anyone have a joiner?
So I think my 2 joints are going to be a bandsaw and a track saw.
That's going to keep coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could only use 2 fingers while you're woodworking,
Oh, that's not the same.
Django style.
what would they be?
Only 2 finger. What? We should start this episode over.
I think it's going to be like the thumb and pointer finger on my right hand.
What else could it be? The thumb has to be
Or
one
you,
of
you
them.
could do like 2 thumbs.
That's 2 hands.
No, it's 2 fingers. You can take any 2 fingers you want.
No.
Thumb and pointer.
Yeah,
That's
it
pretty
has
easy.
to be.
All right. Continue then.
I don't know what to do with this.
Okay, so I was thinking about this jointer
gonna
thing.
get worse.
No, it's
Okay,
not.
all right,
This
good.
is serious.
All right.
I know that Damon doesn't have a jointer, but when I was looking up some of the links that he sent us to check out. Well, one, shouldn't we have Damon's phone number on hand so if we ever wanted to call one of the people with these questions, we could call them?
Well, we could email them.
Yeah, but we couldn't just call them during the podcast and say, "Hey, Damon, do you have a bandsaw?"
Because they all have real jobs. They'd be like, I can't talk right now. I'm in a meeting.
Not everyone gets paid to talk about woodworking at NISA.
Okay. So Mike has a really cool way of, if you only have a 6 or an 8-inch jointer, jointing that board,
Okay.
which is really cool. You take the guard off and put your own. I know it's not the newest thing out there, but it's really cool. And we
You
show
finish
him
the
doing it
sentence.
on a video. So you're taking the guard off, you're putting your own guard on, a shop-made guard. You're jointing, which lets you joint the whole board. You don't get caught up on the guard, and you have a lip that stays. Then you put that on a piece of plywood and run it through the planer.
Yeah.
And then once you get that side flat, you flip it over and run it through again and
right.
get rid
And
of the
take
lip.
that lip off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty genius.
That doesn't help Damon because
No, he doesn't have a jointer.
Damon, the answer is buy a 6-inch joiner or an 8-inch joiner, and
I think Damon came up with a solution, a
Yeah.
really solid
Yeah.
solution on his own.
absolutely.
that's the problem with this question is he gave us the
I
best
know.
answer to the question. So,
So
we're
sometimes
stuck.
I actually started to be like, should I just edit out the part where he answers his own question? But then I was like, no, let's give Damon some credit here.
All right.
Yeah.
If you could only work with 2 woods for the rest of your life. No, serious. This is a good one. What would it be?
Wait, mine was a good one too.
Cherry and ash.
Oh. All right.
Wait, let me guess yours, Mike.
No. Cherry. Given.
Just cherry.
No, not just cherry, but cherry and like does this have to go for like spoon carving too?
Just 2.
Just furniture.
Just furniture?
Yeah.
Okay, I can carve whatever I want.
Sure.
All right, cherry and ash.
What if it was
Cherry and birch. Yeah. It's good stuff.
oak and ash?
That's good. That's yours?
No, I'm trying to guess yours.
Oh,
No.
that was good. I was going to say probably maybe oak and pine.
Oh.
And if I were going cherry, I'd probably go cherry and maple.
Yeah, pine.
2's really hard. I'd say cherry and pine.
Shoot. 2 is really hard.
Wow, 2's not a lot.
I wasn't going to say pine, but now I'm
episode
thinking
sucks.
pine. Pine and walnut?
Pine. Oak and beech. It's nice. Oak and butternut.
All right.
Cherry and walnut?
All right, new T-shirt giveaway thing. In your answer, you have to answer this question.
Yeah.
What would your choice if you only had two species of wood?
Yeah.
And there
Put
is a
them on
right
the
answer,
hook.
so you got to make sure you answer it correctly.
Yeah, Mike gets veto power over your answer. Somebody's gonna say poplar and hickory, and Mike's gonna be like, wrong.
This is either the best podcast ever or the worst.
I
think it's pretty
It's
good.
going to be split right down the middle.
Yeah.
And
I'm liking
listener
this, yes.
thoughts. All right, let's answer number 2. Question number 2 is from Granary. What are your thoughts on resawing at the table saw? I'm terrified of it, but was recently and reluctantly exposed to it as a method for expediting the process in the shop. But as an intermediate woodworker, I can only see downsides. While taking a class after resawing a few times at the table saw, I had to request that I not do it. I felt like a total wuss, but at the same time, when I was holding the stock and the saw was running, I just felt like it was going to go wrong. And you cannot argue with your gut.
No, you can't.
Yeah. Do you ever do that, Anissa?
Argue with my gut all the time.
Do the rip on each edge of a board before you resaw it.
Do the rip on each edge of the board?
Like run the edge of a board across the table saw on each side before you go to the bandsaw and rip it. Like you get it started at the table saw.
I don't know if this is, see, if we could call a granary.
That's what I'm saying. We need their cell phone numbers.
All right. Okay. Is this resawing all the way through the board or resawing and then taking it to the bandsaw? Because I think that's two totally different things.
Oh, I assumed it was like doing the kerf on each and then you go to the bandsaw. If you're talking like a single rip, like less than 3 inches, like less than a blade height rip.
Yeah.
Like you're just cutting a strip off something. I don't think that's what he's talking about.
He's talking about resawing a board.
Yeah, like a 6-inch wide board.
Like in my head, it's a 4.5 to 5 inch board that you can resaw in 2 passes after flipping.
Yeah.
So I think it's one, you can't argue with your gut. If he's not comfortable with it, that's when something is going to go wrong.
Yeah.
However, I think done the right way, you can resaw safely on the table saw.
I generally, when I do it, or when I'm ripping a small piece off a tall, when I'm resawing at the table saw, the only way that I will do it is if I have a zero clearance fence or a zero clearance throat plate.
Right, which is really important if you're doing thin.
Yeah, and I can set up like a feather board or something to hold it
Higher
in
fence.
place. And I've got a good solid push stick. But even then, I still do feel a little weird about it. And I'll be honest with you, like I felt like a wuss in on purpose because to me saying, no, I don't feel right about that is like the bravest thing you can do at that moment. If you don't feel comfortable,
Yeah, it's really
don't do
important.
it.
you saying, nope, I'm putting my foot down, I'm not doing this, that's a really brave thing to do in that situation. And I talk myself into things that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with.
Even when you're alone in your shop,
Yes,
right? Yeah,
yes.
me too.
Yeah. And that's not smart.
No.
If it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. And you should listen to your gut. I wish I did it more.
I agree. And that's not just for woodworking. That's a life lesson right there, Ben.
Dang. Wow.
But incremental cuts too, that's another thing you can do to make it a little bit more comfortable. What? You're not going for the incremental cuts on the table saw?
Resaw? No, because when you resaw down the middle of a board, it's going to want to cup and twist and bow. And then the second cut, you're cutting through warped lumber, or you rotate it to cut the other half, and the top half is all pinchy and burned and everything. I'm with this person. I've done the thing. Actually, I've done both. I've done, partial cut, flip, second cut on the table saw. I don't like it. I've done the other thing where you do, say, on a 6-inch board, you do a 2-inch deep kerf on one edge, rotate it another 2-inch deep, then you go to the bandsaw, and supposedly it gives you like this little track that the blade like steers to.
Oh,
Does that
yeah.
actually do it?
No, it's not for. I'm going to say not for me. I'm just being politic here when it's not something I do. And if you have just a sharp blade on a bandsaw, I think that's probably the most efficient way to resaw anyway.
I think to expedite things, if you're a hobbyist, which let's face it, in the shop, we're all hobbyists.
Yeah.
We all have day jobs. And 97% of the people listening to this are hobbyists. Why expedite something? Just take it to the bandsaw.
Yeah. Unless you have a really wonky bandsaw that doesn't cut straight. I've had that on occasion. Then you need a new blade.
But I think overall we agree that resawing at the table saw,
Don't do it.
Don't do it
if you don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I meant to do this at the beginning of the show. Tools and Shops is out,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
It is.
And Tools and Shops issues, like Is that our most popular issue of the
Yes.
year?
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I love the cover with Charlie Durfee. Is that you? Did you take that?
Mr. Benson.
John Benson with
Yeah.
the cover shot.
Yeah.
And so go check out Tools and Shops. It's online. It's in your mailbox if you're a subscriber or an unlimited subscriber. And
It's on the newsstand if you can find a newsstand these days.
news what? Yeah, it should be on the newsstand in a week or so. But really, really cool issue. A lot of stuff about small shop things, organizing tools on a wall, like tool racks, and we've got a thing from Matt Bickford on molding planes and how to basically do any profile using a hollow and round, right? So check out Tools and Shops. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we've got some esoteric lumber questions to answer. Fine Woodworking's holiday sale starts November 8th. Podcast listeners can save 20% in our store on favorites like Michael Pekovich's The Why and How of Woodworking, SketchUp Guide for Woodworkers, and hundreds of project plans. Visit TauntonStore.com and use gift code 20 to stock up and save.
Hello, woodworkers. My name is Sarah McFarland, and I'm the editor of Threads Magazine, another Taunton Press publication. If you know someone who loves to sew, or you love to sew yourself, please check out our magazine, and we have a podcast as well. It's called Sewing with Threads, and it's released monthly, and it's available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. So please check us out and spread the word about Sewing with Threads.
We forgot to do our all-time favorite technique of all time. That's why we're moving so quickly.
Before we do that, I have another question.
Oh,
No, this is a real one too.
All right.
This works.
My question was a real question.
I know. If you could only use 2 grits of sandpaper ever,
Ooh. 120 and 180. Ooh, but yeah.
I'm going 223. I'm going 220 P400.
Oh, you can't get the P thing going in there.
Yeah.
Really?
Or if we're going by the cami standard, I'm going 220, 320.
Now you're just showing off with your knowledge base. So,
Are we talking hand sanding or?
yeah. Like, can I use... Are these my only abrasives? Can I use steel wool and Scotch-Brite pads?
Yes.
Okay. 180 to 120.
What did you say?
I said 220, 320. I might change that. No, I can't. That's what I'm going with.
220, 320.
Yeah.
Because you're hand planing
Yeah.
and then just going right to the 220.
Or I can scrape to get to 220.
Yeah. Oh, crap.
I'm going 150, 220.
That's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Then why didn't you choose it?
I don't know. Because I wanted that one extra grit to get up to closer to a finished surface for finishing.
I think it depends on what the only 2 woods I'm using is.
Oh, that's a good point. And what kind of joint?
And which finger? Who was talking about their all-time favorite technique of all time for this week?
Go ahead, Anissa.
Okay, mine has to do with my favorite joint because this is what got me thinking of that question. So I really like the miter joint. There isn't a bad joint. Is there a bad joint?
I've had one.
I'm just going to answer.
This is what happens when we record after lunch.
Maybe.
That's what's going on here.
So my all-time favorite technique is with the miter joint when you glue on the angled clamps so that you can just clamp onto those
Angled blocks.
Those angled blocks.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, the angled calls or blocks. If I'm using solid wood or shop sawn veneers that are thicker, I'll just glue right onto the box or whatever it is, and then cut them off and plane the rest of the wood off and then sand or whatever. If I'm using plywood, I just realized in a project, I'll use the paper in between so that I could just knock them off because I'm afraid of how thin the commercial plywood is, the veneer.
So you're just using like grocery bag or
newspaper?
Newspaper? I've never done that.
How do you then get the little paper part off of the veneered
She
surface?
just leaves it on there.
Yeah. I make it part of the design. I just sand it off.
Decoupages
With what
around
grit?
it.
With what grit? 150 or 220?
Okay.
150, then 220.
So this is on like a case-style miter, like a long miter. You'll do the block all the way across.
You can do long ones all the way across, or you can do multiple little
shorties.
ones. Yeah.
Okay.
What about like a picture frame? Would
You could just do a little.
So any miter, you're probably going to do the blocks to make clamping easier.
Yeah.
Do you do it because you think you get a better? It's easier or a better joint?
I think here's the thing. I don't use splines or anything if I'm using plywood. I just feel like even though it's cross-banded, you're still getting long grain joints.
Yeah.
And
At least half of them.
yeah. And so I just feel like it pulls it in tighter, and I'm not using any splines or anything like that. So it just makes me feel as though I'm really tightening that joint while the glue's drying.
So you're getting the clamping pressure in line with the joint and perpendicular to the surface of the glue joint.
In line with the joint and perpendicular to the glue surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can crank it down, and that's not going to want to pull it out.
It doesn't,
Square.
yeah.
Cool.
I've tried the thing on frames where you glue a 45-degree piece to just a regular straight piece of plywood or something like that, and then clamp that to the part. And I've never had luck with that because then you've got the clamps holding the little
clamps and the big
ear on,
Yeah.
and it'd probably just be easier just to glue.
Glue those puppies right on. I was going to say something else. I'm never sure what I can say on this podcast and what I can't say.
Let's keep it that way.
Okay.
I'm going to go next.
Okay.
All-time favorite technique of all time for this week is, and I've been wanting to ask you both this, how you go about making stock for splines. And I came up with my method, and I've done it other ways in the past. I just can't remember how I did it. But all of a sudden it was like, wait, I need like 1/8-inch stock here. And I went to resaw it, or, just take it to the bandsaw and do it. And I was like, then I got hand plane it. I got to make sure that it's not consistent and blah, blah, blah. And then I just glued my stock to a piece of MDF with super glue, just on the very ends of it to hold it in place, ran it through the planer, got it to the perfect size, and just pop it off the MDF, and there's my spline stock.
It's a big spline.
Well, no,
What are you building?
I was making a lot of them.
Okay.
I have 3 boxes, 4 corners, 2 spline. So I wanted to.
What was
make
your final width of the spline?
the final width of the spline?
Half
Yeah,
inch,
maybe this
3/4.
was overkill because they probably. I always think they need to be bigger than they wind up being.
Yeah.
So they were probably each little triangle was probably only 3/4 of an inch deep, if you will.
All right.
So yeah, it was overkill.
So, and they're not cross grain; they're long grain splines.
In case you can't tell, Mike disapproves of my.
Well, I'm
method.
just trying to get to the.
You do too, don't you?
No,
Not of
no.
it. So basically, all we're doing is making long strips of wood, 3/4 of an inch wide, 1/8 of an inch thick.
Yeah.
Huh. My table saw is really good for that.
Would you resaw on the table saw?
Well, table saw is really good for that, but I don't think I could nail 1/8 of an inch off of the table saw without having to hand plane it or run it through some sort of planing apparatus to get it down to thickness.
I didn't think I could, but when I started milling up like bazillion
Kumiko's.
linear feet of Kumiko stock, and I planned on because they fit in a half lap, so the thicknesses have to equal your saw curve. I just assumed I was going to have to like plane down the faces to final. Nah, I just had a sharp, thin curved blade in there, and tap, tap, zip, perfect. So.
He's right. Yeah, I maybe I went overkill with stock. Okay, so mine is planing a face plane.
I'm sorry. That's like your favorite technique too. I feel really bad.
But
that's a great technique.
If you need to plane something to 1/8 of an inch, because most planers only go down to 1/4 of an inch, just glue it to a piece of MDF and run it through the planer.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because
like
a lot of times because a lot of planers, you can't.
What? I do.
You can't go down to 1/4 inch or below quarter.
Yeah.
So to get a really thin, it's a very good tip.
Thanks.
Okay. Just not for splines.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, what's yours?
I asked you to remind me. Shims.
Mine's better than that.
Yeah.
That's it? You're done? Shims?
I was just finishing up a bookcase class this weekend, and the bookcase had a couple drawers at the top, and there's a vertical divider, which was dominoed into the little drawer shelf in the underside of the top of the bookcase. So domino top and bottom. We'd already cut the domino slots in the case parts. We just needed to domino the vertical partition, and it was designed to like perfectly center a 3/4 inch thick divider in the case. Well, this was like slightly under, so when you ran the dominoes into the divider and then put it in place, it was off center by maybe like a 1/16 of an inch, which I could deal with in a class situation where then we're making lots of drawer parts. I didn't want to have to go through all that. So I ended up just getting a thin piece of veneer to shim up the domino in relation to the workpiece, because they're both registered off of a work surface. That actually made it worse, because then I realized I actually had to shim up the workpiece and not the domino in this case. But it worked out really well. So I used like a piece of commercial veneer first. It wasn't enough, so a piece of blue tape. Not quite enough, one more piece of blue tape. Boom, everything was like perfectly centered. So it's the domino, sort of fine-tuning the domino fit by using the base of the domino, which I really like. I do that with biscuit joiners too, as opposed to folding down that little top plate and registering off of that. But just kind of shimming that up or down a little bit to sort of dial in alignment. So it worked pretty good.
Shims and dominoes get along really well. Libby Shrum had that.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
I probably got it from that.
Shimming for offsets, like, building it into your process. Yeah. You did the video on it.
Oh, that's right, I did.
Yeah.
She, boy, I'm letting something out that she doesn't even know about. I keep meaning to contact her. She uses shims all over her shop in the coolest ways, and I want to follow up on that a little bit.
Hey, Libby, it turns out you're doing an article on shims with Vanessa.
It's just so smart, the way she uses them and the way she stores them and just where she puts them. It's really smart and efficient.
Cool.
Very cool.
Get on that.
I am here.
All right. Question number 3 is, we've got a 3A and a 3B because they're both like weird lumberyard questions, and but both possibly interesting discussions. From Craig, I needed some 16/4 ash stock for table legs. At my local lumberyard, I selected from a bin that contained a mix of flat, riff, and quarter sawn boards. I pulled what I thought was an ideal piece, had the yard guy write up the tag, and then proceeded to the office. I noticed on the tag that the width of my selection was 12/4. I suggested that I should pay the price for 12/4 rather than 16/4, but they were unpersuaded. It was foolish of me to suggest this, as at this lumberyard, the invisible sign on the wall always reads, "The customer is always wrong." Love the show, Anissa. Long pause capsalis is a nice addition. I had to leave that in there.
Trust me, it's better than anything that's coming in my mind getting blurted out. If you knew what was happening internally, you would appreciate the long pause.
Nope, can't say that. Can't say that. Okay.
So 12-quarter width. First off, I've never thought of widths being as quarters. But my question, and if we had Craig's phone number, we could ask him.
That's what
right
I'm
now,
saying. We need to get the phone numbers.
So I had a 4-inch thick board, technically that was only 3 inches wide. He's wondering why he didn't get charged for a 3-inch thick board,
But was
4
it in
inches
a
wide.
bin of 16-quarter stock? Like at our lumber yard, you ask for 16-quarter stock, they pull out the 16-quarter stock. I think anything that's in that bin is 16-quarter stock.
Yeah. I actually called our lumber yard about this question.
Really?
I did.
What'd they say?
I did because maybe there was a misunderstanding or something, but our lumber yard, I think we're talking about the same place. He was like, no, if it's 12-quarter, you pay for 12-quarter. Otherwise, you're just paying for 25% more than you're actually getting.
Well, I mean, but they're charging you by the board foot. So,
Right. I mean, there's a formula for that, though.
Yeah, but like the problem is that a board foot price for 12-quarter is not the same as a board foot price for 16-quarter.
Yes.
So you wouldn't be paying for 25% more. You would just be paying the wrong board foot price.
I see, but I'm misunderstanding the question. But you should still just be paying for 12-quarter if you're getting 12-quarter. You should be paying for the 12-quarter price.
All I know is
Right?
I've never had the guts to argue with anyone at the lumber yard.
Yeah,
that's
I
true,
see.
too.
Like I could walk up there and they'd be like, it's $400. I'd be like, I think it's only $150, but here's my card.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
just don't have the guts because they know how to drive forklifts and I don't. So I'm already at like a disadvantage.
Yes. I guess the question is, did they have a 12-quarter pile of lumber? Because really, then what you didn't actually need 16-quarter. You only needed 12-quarter
Well, that was
stock.
my question. You said you needed 16-quarter. Why did you choose a 12-quarter board?
Yeah.
Did you need 16-quarter or do you need 12-quarter?
If we had his phone number.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
So, yeah, no, I've never been in a circumstance where I've actually taken a board which was technically narrower than the thickness of the stock I was paying for.
Yeah. It sounds like a misunderstanding, maybe.
But if it was all, I don't know.
Yeah, I think like the rules of society go out the window at a lumberyard, and I would maybe have mentioned it to him and then just immediately backed off. Yeah,
We have a good lumber yard.
we do. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Craig and Ben. I'm just going to pay it.
Yeah.
Just whatever it is. Okay. I'll just pay that. Then go away and make something out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. So from Cameron, the second part of this is, when breaking down a larger board, do you prefer long or wide cutoffs? After listening to the pod for years now, I'm obsessed with getting the best grain selection. Virtual high five to Mike. But don't want to waste a whole board to get one piece. As an example, I have a board that is 8 inches wide and 4 foot long. From that, I need a piece that is 3 inches by 8 inches. The best piece is on the edge of the board, 6 inches from the end. And the train is going 200 miles an hour. When will it arrive in Pittsburgh? I don't know why Pittsburgh was the first city that came to mind.
What are your two choices? Oh, it's a train.
Yeah. Cherry and pine.
It would be helpful to know it's hard, even when you're breaking down plywood.
Oh,
where are you cutting, you know, but
Yeah.
what is that piece for? Is that for a shelf? Is he getting a
Well,
whole
it doesn't-
box out of that?
Yeah, it was for box. It was for Resawing.
I think he said boxes,
box,
shelves,
box
small
sides out of-
cabinets.
Yeah.
I like to keep stock long. I'd rather have long and skinny than a little short white offcut that I can't get across a joint or through a
yeah.
I
planer.
can't commit to that.
I just burn those things.
Well, that's true. I think I would take a handsaw.
And just cut out
And-
a square.
I wouldn't cut out a square. I would cut out the far end and then take it to the bandsaw. And So I would wind up with a notched piece at the end because, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to need a long piece or a wide piece, and that gives me the most options. But you would rather have long stock? In
Generally, yes. I can do more with a long. So I would rather have a 3-inch. What am I left with? 3 and 5-inch wide by 4 foot long. That's a nice board.
Okay, so you can only cut boards two ways: cross cut them or rip them immediately. You're ripping them.
Yeah, or you're going to have. 6 plus 8 is 14. So you're gonna have an 8-inch wide board, which is slightly less than 3 feet long, 2 plus. I mean, that's a decent board too.
I think I'm gonna cross cut first, in general.
I think in general, I'm going to rip first. However, that probably comes with about a half an hour of looking at the board, trying to decide on and commit to the rip over the crosscut.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the board. It depends on what you're making. I stay non-committal as long as possible, and then I would rip first.
When I worked at the hardware store, we had a guy there who would refuse to, out at the panel saw somebody's buying like a 2 foot by 3 foot piece of plywood. He would notch that out every single time. And it was like, that's so much more work than it's worth because we have piles of scrap. It's like, you're going to sell it eventually. But it's, the things that he would do to leave everything perfectly intact as long as possible was incredible. Admirable, too. But
I have a piece of teak that I notched out like that over 12 years ago, and I haven't touched it since. Someday.
Just because nothing has...
I just needed a small... it was something like that, and I ended up notching from the end of the board, and I have this L-shaped piece of lumber that I haven't touched since. Maybe someday I'll cross-cut it.
Design around it. All right, we are going to go to some listener comments, and both of them from the website. We've got a lot of comments lately because we're giving away stuff, unlimited memberships and books and all sorts of stuff. So from user 7028762, I like how you all have different coffee mugs. Tom's, this is from the last episode, Tom's enameled steel camping mug. Mike's got the ceramic one, which is hand thrown, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. And Ben, at the time, had an insulated tumbler. But it was interesting because your choice of mug actually does say a lot about you.
I agree.
What do you have there?
Birds.
There you go.
That
Okay.
looks like a kitchen special.
Yeah, but it's at my desk now.
Okay.
It has been. It is one of our kitchen specials.
Yeah. Meaning a work kitchen with the grody strainer with all the cups in there.
I keep my mug at my desk. I have a mug that Mike got me from the diner in our town.
Yes. Every time I see it for a split second, I'm jealous. I got that for Ben.
I have a fine woodworking mug, which is probably available in the TauntonStore.com.
Oh, that's an awesome mug.
That is a good mug.
That's a good mug.
I've actually never used it.
It's the navy one with the white lettering?
Tom gave us all one. You didn't get one?
No, maybe.
I may or may not have a dozen tea cups, mugs in my cubicle and 2 coffee mugs.
Well, you have to put something in your display cabinet.
Yeah. And my daughter is probably my favorite potter of all time. So I have lots of hers. They're awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. From user 5678204. You can always... All right, this is in reference to Mike's talk about tacos. You can always buy flat-bottom taco shells. The shells stand upright on their own. Life changer. I totally disagree with the flat-bottom taco shell.
Thank you for saying that. I didn't want to be a shell snob.
That's wrong. It's wrong.
It's a different bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That right angle?
Yeah, it's almost...
No.
Yeah. It's almost like eating a tortilla chip vertically in your mouth instead of like horizontally.
Whoa.
There's no such thing as a flat bottom taco shell, right?
Yeah.
There is.
There is.
Stop. Is there? Or you? I'm serious. Is there?
Yes, there is.
You could tell
It's a
the
good
stop
concept.
was just like, no, let's stop this episode.
I mean,
No, that's what you're thinking.
the other problem is with the flat bottom shell, which I have had in the past, and it is not a bad solution. Your meat ratio is way off because the area at the bottom of a squared bottom shell is much bigger than the little roundy bottom. So it throws everything off.
I just think that the round bottom taco shells tipping all over the place and spilling stuff, and that's just part of it.
It is part of it.
That's just part of the romance of eating tacos. Episode title: The Romance of Eating Tacos.
Yes.
There is no more romance for tacos. My son discovered tacos about 3 weeks ago, and we had a week of tacos. A week straight of tacos.
You know you can say no.
Yeah, but when they're picky about food and they
Yes,
discover
right.
something,
Yeah.
Oh my God,
you
they're
go
eating
with it, man. I was shoving all kinds of good stuff in the bottom of that taco.
All right. Let's see. Who's got some recommendations?
Ooh, I have one.
Okay.
Chris Bexford is on Instagram.
I was one of the first 12 people he followed.
I know, Ben.
Weeks of, why isn't he following me?
I shamelessly had to email him and say, why aren't you following me? I guilted him into following me.
That was the best 3 weeks ever for me to just
I
dangle
know.
that every now and then.
But he's posting some really cool stuff.
He really is. And yeah.
So if Chris Bexford is not following you back, we'll give you his personal phone number. You can call him, and he will follow you. He's a good guy that way.
I feel really guilty with my recommendation, but I was thinking about it. My recommendation is get an iPad. This thing has been game changer for me. It's like the iPad with the pencil. And I've just got the cheap iPad, the 6th generation or whatever, that uses the Apple Pencil. And it's awesome. I don't use paper anymore. Whatever. I don't know why I feel so guilty about recommending such an expensive thing, but it's awesome. I love it. And I've loved it for months now. So there we go. It's not a fleeting love.
No, you'll love it forever.
Yeah.
You
It's
seem
undying.
happier since you've gotten it.
I am happier. Yeah. I've lost weight too. No.
My recommendation, I kind of got this from a phone call with my sister who's doing bullet journaling, if you know what that is. But, okay, so I've got a million black bound sketchbooks all over, spiral bound, everywhere. I don't know what's in any of them. I've been doing little tabs with tape or those little stick-on tabs to kind of figure out what's in them. No. You number the pages, and then on the very inside cover, you write down page 3, bookcase, page 17, the T-chess class. You make a table of contents for your sketchbooks.
That's really dorky.
It's amazing. So,
I mean,
you don't have to number every page. I just number the bottom right-hand corner of a spread. You open it up, bottom right-hand corner gets a 1, flip it 2, flip it 3. So it's not instead of every page, it's sort of every 4th page, I guess. But it's enough to then be able to go back later. I can flip open the sketchbook, look there, see what's in it, to even see if that's the right one of 12 that I'm actually looking for.
Would you ever buy a sketchbook that came pre-numbered?
No.
Yeah.
Do they make
I don't think
them?
I would. No. I don't know.
I'm afraid if they were numbered, they'd also have lines, and I don't like lines. I just want white paper.
But could you, what if there's a sketchbook manufacturer out there? It's let's make the Pekovich.
Yeah.
And it could be numbered every other page with an empty table of contents in the middle on the paper of your choice with no lines.
I'd buy it.
Me too.
Somebody get on that. All right. That's all for this episode of Shop Talk Live. If you have questions you'd like us to answer on the show, send them in to shoptalk@taunton.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up button. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks for listening.
So if you could only drink 2 liquids for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Water and coffee.
Oh. Yeah, never mind. Water and coffee.
Really like lemonade.
So which one gets replaced, water or coffee?
Water and coffee.
Hi, I'm Tom McLaughlin, host of Rough Cut with Fine Woodworking, sponsored in part by Felder Group. Season 8 is now airing on PBS and brings unusual, unique design inspiration and easy-to-follow project instruction to woodworkers at every skill level. Check your local listings or visit finewoodworking.tv to watch right now.